Hey, welcome to the fourth and final video of the CPCU 540 video series. In today's video, we are breaking down a practice exam for the CPCU 540. This is presented by AssociatePI. We are an independent organization, independent of the institutes and the CPCU. I'm Jake, I'm a CPCU myself, and I'm just here to help you pass your CPCU 540 exam. So let's get started. As I mentioned, this is video number 4, the fourth and final video. If you want to watch the other videos, you can go to AssociatePI.com/videos to get all 4 videos of our 540 video series. So as I mentioned, today we are breaking down a practice exam, giving 3 examples, going into detail on how to approach and solve each of them. The first example, the first question that we're going to go through is just a sample concept question, probably something you'll see from part A of the exam. So no formulas, no calculations, just a concept definition-based question. Example 2 is going to be a little bit more complicated. It's kind of a scenario question, kind of a concept question, but it's something that you'll probably see on part A or part B of your exam. It's just it's giving you a straightforward question, asking you to solve a formula. So you have to use a formula, have to apply it to solve, and you have to do a little bit of math to get the answer. Number 3 is the most complex question. This one is very difficult. This is something you will see in part B of your exam. It's a sample case question where it gives you a case and you have to solve the case to get the correct answer. So let's get into the questions. We're going to start with question number 1. Now we're going to cover a lot of content today, so I'm not going to read these full questions. I'm not going to read you the answer options. I'm just going to simply talk to them a bit, and then we're going to go over the correct answer, and I'll give you a bit of an explanation as to why it's the correct answer. So if you want to take these questions on your own, I recommend you pause the video now, read the question, answer it, and then I'll go over on the answer. So as I mentioned, this is a concept-based question. You can see it's asking, it's formatted actually kind of like a real-life scenario, but this is a sample of something that you'll probably see, a similar question that you'll see on your exam, and it's asking this is an example of what? So you have to know the concept, and you have to pick the correct answer. So now I'm going on to the correct answer. Again, if you want to take this on your own, just pause the video and answer the question. So the correct answer is A, vertical analysis. So here's a great example of how you have to read this analysis. Joe, the analyst, it tells what he's doing. You have to read the scenario, figure out what Joe is trying to do, and figure out what this is an example of. So in this case, it's a vertical analysis. And the reason that's the correct answer is because a vertical analysis is when the analyst uses a common size statement to view relationships between items within a single set of financial statements. So you can see that's exactly what Joe is doing here. So a great example of how you might see a question formatted on part A of your exam. Let's go on to question number 2. This one's going to be a lot more complex. This one is based on a formula, but you can see it tells you a formula to calculate, but it gives you a ton of information. So this question is saying calculate the combined ratio, and it gives you a ton of data here, and guess what? You don't need all of this information to calculate a combined ratio. So it's really important you have to memorize the formulas. We went over this in the last video, video number 3, where we broke down all the important formulas, and we mentioned that there's over 80 formulas that you need to memorize. So this is one of them that you need to know. Combined ratio is very important, and it's a multi-step process, a multi-step formula, and this is exactly what the exam is going to do. It's going to give you what seems like a simple question and then overload you with information. So you have to make sure you analyze the question, figure out what information you do not need, because you don't need all this data. So I'm going to move on to the answer. If you want to answer this one, pause the video, go ahead, calculate combined ratio for yourself. So the correct answer is B, and this, as I mentioned, is a multi-step problem. Combined ratio, the formula is combined ratio equals loss ratio plus expense ratio. So this is a tough one. Step 1, you got to calculate the loss ratio. Step 2, you got to calculate the expense ratio, and then finally you can add the two together to get combined ratio. So like I said, there's a ton of information that was given to you that you didn't need. I'm going to go back one slide, but look at all this information that you don't need. Policyholder surplus, investment yield, all the stuff that is just useless. So first, figure out what is the formula. So loss ratio plus expense ratio. Then break it down into components. What do you need to calculate loss ratio? What do you need to calculate expense ratio? You can see that here. And so first, start with the loss ratio, calculate that. Next, step 2, calculate expense ratio. Then add the two together, and you can see that there's a ton of information that you didn't need there. So this is a tough question. The exam's definitely going to do this to try and trick you, but here's exactly how you solve this type of question. All right, now moving on to part 3, or question number 3. Now, this is probably the most complex question, and one of the more difficult questions that you'll see on your exam. This is similar to something that you would see in part B of the CPCU 540 exam, where it gives you a scenario. So you can see this is a real-life scenario, ABC company paying rent. So this is something where you have to read it, figure out what the question is asking, and figure out what formula to apply. So it's very difficult. And again, if you want to solve this on your own, pause the video right now, because I'm going to move on to the explanation. It's a long one, so I'm going to go through all the steps to getting to the correct answer. So to solve these questions, first you have to figure out what is the question asking and what formula to apply. So that's step 1, what formula. So what we know is this is a present value of an annuity due calculation, meaning you need the present value of an annuity due formula. And we know this for 3 reasons. 1, ABC company is paying a lease. A lease is a fixed sum of periodic payments. That means it's an annuity. There we go. Present value of an annuity. So it's asking how much today in today's dollars, meaning we want to know the present value. So there you go. Again, present value annuity. In step 3, the tricky one, payments are made, since this is rent, payments are being made at the beginning of the month, the beginning of the period, meaning that we actually want to calculate the present value of an annuity due. A totally different formula than the present value of an annuity. So here we go, 3 steps right away to figure out what type of formula we need to apply to this scenario. You can see how difficult that is. You have to read the formula, have to read the scenario, analyze it, and figure out what formula to apply. So you really have to memorize the formulas, know all the formulas, and know when to apply them. That's why this exam is so difficult. All right, so now we know, because we studied, we know that the present value of an annuity due equals the present value of an annuity times 1 plus the interest rate. In this case, we label it R. So it's a 2-step process. So step 1, calculating the present value of an annuity. And to do that, we are going to use the present value tables. If you have a financial calculator, which is allowed as long as you get it approved and make sure it meets the guidelines for the exams, you can use your financial calculator. In my case, and in most cases, most students don't have the financial calculator. You will have to use the present value tables. So in this case, we're going to walk through how to use the present value tables. So step 1, calculate the present value of an ordinary annuity. So to calculate an annuity, present value of an annuity, the formula is annuity payment times the present value annuity factor. So we have to use the present value annuity table to find the present value annuity factor. And here's the tricky part. This is something that a lot of students miss, and it'll get you the totally wrong answer if you miss this. So to use the table, we know that we're paying monthly. So we know that N, our period, is going to be 12, because 12 months in a year. We know that we're paying a 1-year lease. Here's the tricky thing. The interest rate is 12% annual. We have to know that we're paying 12 months out of the year. So since our period N is monthly, 12 months, we need to divide our interest rate, 12% annually, divide the 12 periods, the 12 months out of the year. So our interest rate is actually 1% per month, not 12% per month. It's 12% per year. So since we're looking at this on a monthly basis, we have to divide 12 by 12, you get 1%. So now we figured out that the numbers that we want to use on the present value table to find our present value factor is N equals 12, R equals 1. There we go. Now let's go use the table. So here is the present value of an annuity table. And as we covered in the last video, we broke down how to use these tables. Your period is on the left side and your interest rate is on the top. So here we go. We want to find our period. We know it's 12. And we know our interest rate is 1. So we find period 12, interest rate 1. So that should be our present value factor. And there we go. There it is. So period of 12, interest rate of 1. There is our present value factor that we apply to our present value of an annuity, present value of an ordinary annuity formula. And again, if you want to download these tables and if you want some practice exams on how to use them, go to AssociatePI.com/practice exam, download the CPCU 540 practice exam, and we give you all of these tables so that you can practice using them. And I highly recommend you know how to use those tables because you are going to need them on your exam. And so here's the answer. I jumped to a little quickly there. Sorry about that. But here's the explanation. So we are calculating present value of annuity due. We first have to calculate present value of ordinary annuity. We did that. We know we got the present value of the annuity. We know that's 10,000. We got our present value of annuity factor that we just got in the last step. And there we go. We calculated our present value of an annuity, an ordinary annuity. So that goes in right here in our present value of an annuity due formula. Now we can calculate the present value of an annuity due. So that formula is present value ordinary annuity, which you just calculated, times 1 plus the interest rate. Again, we know the interest rate is 1%. We just calculated that because it's on a monthly basis. So we take our $112,000 that we just calculated times 1 plus 0.01, and we get the correct answer of D, $113,676. Now, that was a difficult question, and you will definitely see some questions like this on your exam. You can see how complex they are. Multi-step questions where you have to first analyze the question, figure out what formula to use, calculate step 1, calculate step 2, calculate step 3, and then finally get the correct answer. So it takes a lot, and if you miss one step, you're going to get the wrong answer, and that's why this is the most failed exam. There are so many formulas, so many steps. These questions are difficult, so prepare yourself for the type of questions that you are going to see. And if you want more questions like this, I highly recommend you go and download our free practice exam. We give you a bunch of questions like this to help prepare you for the exam, the type of questions that you will actually see on the exam. So go to AssociatePI.com/practice exam. In this download, we give you our full free practice exam. We also give you a list of formulas that you need to know, and we give you those present value and future value tables that we've been using throughout this video series. You need to know how to use those. I definitely recommend you download this free practice exam. And if you want any more info, if you want to read more about this exam, we go into some more detail in our blog post. You can go to AssociatePI.com/CPCU540. You can check out all these blogs there, including the difficulty, important topics, what formulas to memorize, more sample exam questions. You can also check out, pretty important, the approved calculator that you can use on the exam, and our tips to passing. So that's it. That wraps up our CPCU 540 video series. This was video number 4. I highly recommend, if this is your first video that you're watching, you go back and watch the other videos in the series, including exam review, our difficulty, tips to pass, and the formulas that you need to know. So if you want to check all those out, go over to AssociatePI.com/videos. And that's it. Good luck on the exam. If you have any questions about the content on this exam, I'm Jake. I personally answer these emails. Reach out to contact@AssociatePI.com with any questions on the content. This is a tough one. I've been there. I passed it. So please let me know. I'd be happy to help. And good luck. Hope to hear from you soon.